everyone. We are live yet again, and this is going to be one of my authors chats of the week. And I'm going to give it a moment so I can have the notifications that I'm out and about sent out to the wide world, and keep my eye out for my co-host this week. I know she mentioned just a moment ago that she was ready to roll, so I'll keep my eye out for her and we can get things going. We'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. I am thoroughly exhausted, so we'll see how much my energy I have today. I recently got back from Multiverse Con down in Peachtree City in Georgia, and it was a long weekend full of amazing things, but a long weekend. I was there as a panelist, I was moderating panels, was there selling books all weekend, and of course hanging out with fellow authors and readers and fantasy fans alike. So that's all really cool. Anywho, that's what I have been up to, and coming back to the day-to-day stuff, I am kind of trying to catch up and scramble to make sure I keep up with my deadlines, because I'm still hoping to release my next novella next month. It'll be the last one for its series. So a series finale, which is always wowing to me, because it's always hard to say goodbye to characters, and that's one thing that I'm not sure I'm ready for, because I've enjoyed writing them through all this, which will be 16 volumes by the time I release next month. Hello, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm just making sure my camera's on and all the things. You can hear me?
Hi. I can hear you and I can see you.
Whoa. We've got success.
Ready to roll.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm
How's it
good.
been?
How are you?
I'm exhausted. I was just saying right before you jumped on that I was participating in Multiverse Con down in Peachtree City in Georgia, and that was a lot of fun and 3-day convention, but I am thoroughly exhausted.
Did you just get back today?
I got back towards the end of Sunday, and so yesterday was trying to, one, pick up the dog, and from my folks who are pet sitting, and then trying to also organize everything for the rest of the week. So it's going to be that week of trying to just play catch up for the rest of the week.
I get it. It's exhausting, but fun. And I was thinking, I can't remember the last time I've been live. It's been many months. Many, many months.
Well,
you were one of the last people I would have been lives with.
Ooh, well, maybe you should do more lives.
I know. I don't know why. I just never do. But anyway,
it's time.
Nice.
There's part of that time thing, and then there's the energy and the wherewithal of, I'm going to sit down and do this now, versus all the other things I need to do. I understand.
Yes, but I will say, when you ask me, or if we're chatting, and I'm always happy to do one with you. Yeah.
And since the last time we talked, you got an award.
I did. Yes, the Reader's Choice Award. And it's funny because I know I had submitted it, obviously, but I had, when you submit these things and you just, I don't know, for me, I just kind of don't really think much about it. It's I'm not expecting anything. And you had messaged and you're like, oh, congratulations. I'm like, what? So I checked the email. I'm like, oh my God, it's very exciting. It's awesome. What a good feeling.
It is, and it's one of those things that, I mean, as an author, you want people to like your books, and you want people to tell you that, but it's always, I don't know, in the back of my mind, sometimes I'm like, is it really good, or are they just, my friends, or people who are trying to be nice, and so sometimes getting those kind of awards, it feels a different kind of good, because it's kind of like people who are specializing, or however they are getting their that role, they're also saying, I like this is guys too, and that always feels nice as well. But yeah, so that's really neat. I am proud of you for getting that.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's awesome. It feels good, because I get the same feelings, and that's just the self-doubt. I just think, I don't know, a lot of authors I talk to seem to have that sneak in. I think it's part of this whole deal, but it's not easy sometimes because it takes over, it's consuming. So when you hear from readers or something like this happens, it's like this, it just makes me happy.
It does. It absolutely does. But yeah, because we haven't talked in, I don't know how long. It's been a moment. It has been a moment. So actually, let's rehash. For anybody who's jumping on and doesn't know you, just do your little blurb, what you write, and do your basic pitches of your books, because your books are multiplying too since the last time I think we talked.
They are, which is completely wild to me because I get very swept up in what I have to do next in marketing and the next book, like I'm writing, and then sometimes I stop and like I didn't really see myself able to be here, so that's a good thing. But I have like a completed series. I even grabbed them because I just in case. But like I have Wandering Souls, which is book 1, and book 2, Seeking Haven, that won the award. I know that it's backwards, the words, but, and then Braving Storms is like super, they get bigger. Each one got bigger in the series, but this is completing the 3-book series. So the main character is Drew Harlow, and she starts off in Wandering Soul 17 going on 18 years old. So it's an upper, like say a upper young adult, creeping into new adult because she ages through the series up to the age of 19. And the other characters are like 19, 20. But it's like what readers have said, and it's sort of a good way to put it, is it's like a modern day ghost whisperer, if you will. So she sees dead people. She has to accept this gift. She makes some self-discoveries of the witchy variety as to why she has this ability. But along the way, there's like the sidekick friendships, both living and not. There's a slow burn friends to lovers romance with someone she grew up with, which is very swoony, and I call him my green flag MMC because he just totally is. And best friend, found family tropes are within the story. And I hope this is this is good. Yeah.
You good. That's great because the last time you and I jumped on, you had recently released the second book, if I recall correctly, and so the third one hadn't been released yet. So how do you feel, because I'm about to wrap up my second complete series, how did you feel about saying goodbye to your characters? Because I'm about to do that with the Guardian Speaker, my Viking fantasy, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, am I going to be emotional or if I'm going to be like, oh, I'm ready. I've been working on you for so long, it's time to say goodbye.
I found it really hard. It's like, it's sad to say goodbye. Like I miss them. I really do. And like, that's why I really think this book is so big, because the story just was so full and it needed to just really complete. So, but yeah, it's kind of sad because these people feel like real people.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That means you wrote them in a way that they are dimensional and they are, some kind of characters that people latch on to for, be it whatever ways, if it's their emotional story, their backstory, they're just quirks, but you want them to be real.
Yes, exactly. Like relatable and flawed, but
yes,
people who you root for, like, yeah. So
absolutely.
I enjoyed writing them. I loved it. I love escaping into that writing world and creating these characters and worlds. And I actually drafted a prequel. It's drafted. I have to revise it. So that plans for that early, hopefully 2025.
Fun.
So, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, why I did the air quotes earlier is just because you wrapped up a series doesn't mean you have to leave the world. There are definitely authors who, once they create their world and the characters, they'll do spin-offs with, split series with, the side characters, but allows them to also maybe have an interaction with some of their other characters that they've liked, so they don't exactly have to say goodbye. I have the habit of doing the opposite. I jumped into a entirely different world system, and so I really do have to say goodbye.
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, because I've actually started on an adult, I call it an adult romantic suspense. It's just because it's been so pressing. So that's for 2025, but it's totally new characters that I'm getting to know now and like a new world. So like, here we go. And I'm getting attached to them. So I did kind of let the others go. And I do see a comment. They are on Kindle Unlimited as well. Yes. And physical. About to be audiobooks for book 1's in audiobook, and book 2 and 3 are slotted for a end of November finish for Seeking Haven, and then January 2025 for Braving Storms to be an audio.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And it's how do you like having that audiobook for your first one? Because I know there are definitely a lot of people who appreciate that because that's the only format they read in is the audio format. So how does your experience of starting to release audiobooks?
I went through like ACX, so through Audible or Amazon. For me, my biggest driving force to do audiobooks, honestly, it's for those who are unable to physically read with like vision and they need to read with different senses. So I just want it to be available for people who need that format. That's like totally my number one reason for doing it.
That's cool. And that is very important because before I even started doing audio, it's been a number of years ago, I do remember someone emailing me and was like, I love the sound of your series and would love to read it, but was talking about the fact that he had vision impairment, and that got me thinking, and so that was one of the reasons why I made that effort, because depending on how you do it, it can get pretty expensive, but you're also able, again, to diversify with your readership and allow people of all sorts to have access to your books when you are able to release them in multiple formats.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with your suspense, you said what kind of suspense was it?
It's like romantic suspense. So there is romance at the core, but there's a suspenseful, like, it's just, there's a female main character and a male main character who is a mystery neighbor, if you will. And I don't have, like, it's still in the drafting stages, so it could really take on any direction right now. But it's just something that has been playing like a movie reel in my head, the scenes, because I was trying to push it aside and I just make notes. And then I did the prequel draft and I was going to dive in and get that edited, but this got too pressing. So I've been really writing that a lot lately. I'm just going with it, because if you get a creative burst, you just have to go with it. You have to.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yes, and because I've had stuff like that. I've had stuff where I'm trying to force a series because I want to release something at a certain time, and I'm trying to force write a book, and it's just not working well. This happened to me earlier on this year, and I finally had to be like, I'm going to come back to you. We're going to get it at some point, but I need to do something different, something fresh. So I call it my palate cleansing books, and so I jumped into a totally new project, and that other project was like, oh, so easy, breath of fresh air. And I was like, oh, that was nice. And now I have to start turning back to my problem child.
I understand that. Like, even the third book, when I dove in to write that, at the time it was like last year, and I started in October, kind of aimed for this NaNoWriMo words. I never make the word count, but it motivated me. But for some reason I was in such a slump. I'm like, I don't know what needs to really happen in this third book. And then it was after kind of the holidays in January, all of a sudden it was just like the vision cleared, and I was like, I know exactly how this story needs to go. So then I just wrote like crazy from January, February, March, just to get the draft and do a revision. And so
that's great. Again, follow that spark. But be warned, there's going to be at some point where you're going to have too many shiny, pretty new stories, and you have to also remind yourself you do need to finish the other stuff.
True. Yes, because it is
that balance, that perfect balance. So that's really neat that you kind of have a couple projects in the works for 2025. And what made you decide to do this prequel for your original trilogy? What was it that?
I had a couple readers mention like some things, like the main character, she's raised by her grandmother, and as the series went along, I'm a pantser, so it's not like I wrote the first book knowing exactly what's going to happen in book 2. It just kind of flowed. So it kind of hit me that there's a story there, a backstory. So it's this prequel that it's going to be kind of starting off when her grandmother was young, and in kind of a one part, sort of where she develops like magic and kind of her history. And then it's going into the second part where the main character, who we know as Drew Harlow in the series, she's 5 years old and she comes to live with her grandmother. And we can see sort of what unfolds, because one of the ghosts in the series knows her from back then, but where she's a child and the only one that can see this ghost, the ghost basically...
Whoop, I think I lost you for a second there. Hi, Derek, how are you?
And the grandmother.
Sorry, you froze for a second, so
hello,
I missed the part from the ghost and someone can only see the ghost back in your prequel, and that's kind of when you faded.
Yes. So I'm sorry, the main character in the series, Drew Harlow, she sees ghosts. She sees dead people. So there's one particular ghost. It's sort of her backstory that follows the series, and it's between her point of view and the grandmother who raised the main character. That's what the prequel is. Yeah.
Is this going to be a full length, a short story, a novella?
I planned it as a novella, but it's going to be a full novel because it's just what happened. But it won't be as long as like, it's, not like a 90,000 word novel, but it'll be more like, I'm thinking around 60,000. So not like a long book, but longer than a novella.
Yeah. So, well, that's the thing is I've, trying to shake things. I always like to shake things up. And so my first two full-length series, they were ranging from 140 to maybe down to 120,000 words, but still sizable. And going forward, some of my newer projects are under 100,000. So I'm trying to figure out how to hit that. I want in my back of my mind to be around 100,000 mark. And I think that is what I would like to aim for. But again, stories kind of have like their own soul. So some of them want to be a little shorter than you expect, and others end up doubling in size.
That is so true. And for me, you'd think the editing process, I'd be cutting more, but I tend to layer more. Mm-hmm. So it ends up this beast. But yeah, like the third book was 125,000 words. I aimed for 100 at max, and I couldn't help myself. I even cut a chapter because my editor's like, it was a chapter towards the end. She's like, I know, do what you want, but you can take this chapter, cut it, take like two important pieces and put them before and after and get rid of that chapter. So I did take her advice. But when she first told me, I'm like, but I need that chapter. Absolutely not. And then I read it. I'm like, no, she's right. She's right.
She's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the nice thing. I mean, having a good editor, I mean, that's what they're there for, is to not necessarily challenge you, not necessarily butt heads with you, but they're there to improve your writing in the best way that you can. And, especially you want an editor that has the credentials, has the know-how, because you want them to look at everything in the most analytical, the most critical way and be like, this is what your story needs, in my opinion, to make it better.
Yes, and she does that, and I so appreciate that. Yep.
And I see Derek jumping on saying, nice to see two Book Talks awesome authors together on a live. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do another live again at some point, Derek.
Well, we definitely will.
But yeah, so lost my train of thought. But it was something, and I do really appreciate editors tremendously because their skill and know-how, and I'm getting to that point where I have to start finding a new editor because I've had one retire and another one that's kind of trying to taper towards retirement. And I'm like, oh no, I have to start looking again.
I'm happy to share mine. Like her information, if ever you need, just let me know. Yeah.
I'm gonna beware what you offer because I may
anytime. Anytime.
Okay, here's a question that actually pops up saying, can you choose the editor when signing with a publisher? Okay, so I'm indie and you're indie, correct? Indie. So yes. That's not necessarily in our wheelhouse, but what I can say is, because I don't know, all I can presume, and again, this is an assumption, that if you're doing it one of the big houses, they're going to have their own editors. And even talking to some people, I was at a convention this past week and talking to some of the smaller press houses, they do come with their own editors. So the most likely no when it comes to your final draft editor. Though if you're doing the querying process and trying to get an agent to get into the press, a lot of times they say make sure you've sent your original manuscript to an editor to polish it up before you even submit it to an agent. So initially, during your whole search, you'll be looking for an editor at some point. But that's the best of my knowledge because, again, I'm indie, she's indie, and very different ways of approaching publishing. But yeah, actually, let me ask you, what was it that made you want to go indie? Was it just, this is absolutely what I wanted to do off the bat? Was it because, what was it that made you choose indie? Because everybody goes.
For me, like, I didn't set out planning to write a book at all. It was like the end of 2019 going into 2020, and I just wanted just changed. I needed to do something creative. I always loved writing. So I took a novel writing course through like our local university, and the instructor, like he was indie published, like it was just a good experience. And then COVID happened. So everything went virtual. Yeah. And that was 2020, and I published my first book in 2022. But it was just, I worked with a developmental editor one-on-one, and I took a publishing course. So it just kind of, I just started learning and working in like being part of writing groups and learning a lot about it. And I wanted to publish. I didn't want to have to do the process of like querying and hoping to get an agent, then going on subs, and possibly waiting years for that to happen when I knew I was kind of ready just to jump in and do it. So, but when I did it, I treated it like a business, not a hobby. Like I was right away, like hire editors, do everything professional covers, do the market research, all the things, take courses, learn. So that was my approach.
And that's the thing is, I think the authors who are the most successful, again, come in with the intention and the mindset of, this is going to be a business. This is what I want it to be. Especially if you're trying to make this your full-time gig, you have to kind of come in with that mentality of, I need to learn all the things, because if you choose the indie route, you're going to have to do pretty much everything or learn how to contract out to the right people. So it is a lot of learning. And even however many years I've been out and doing this, I'm always challenging myself to learn more. And that's why sometimes I go to different conventions or take different courses that are there specifically to educate the writer author on anything from craft to the marketing to the advertising to all that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff, like the blurbs, writing the blurbs, and doing
oh my gosh,
it's just
I wish I was better at that. Blurb writing is hard. Blurb writing. Wow, tongue-tied, tired and tongue-tied.
okay.
That's a skill in among itself, and it is very different than writing a full-length novel.
Super. So I actually hired or contracted out, whatever you want to call it, the last two books to Brian Cohen. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but Best Page Forward, to his team, and they did my blurb. But it was a great experience. Like we even had a Zoom call, and it was amazing because I also learned from them. So I kind of learned their little formula. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'd have to go like look and read through, but it was helpful. So I hope to be able to like start really get in writing my own blurbs moving forward. So,
and that's the smart thing. If you know you have a weak spot, either admit it and say, hey, I need help. And again, get someone that may be a little bit better and more of an expert in that area to help you out, because what you want to do is release a product, your book, in the best way you can to allow it to have the best success, especially right off the bat. Because I say this all the time. Every one of these, I feel like say it. I'm the author who's done everything the wrong way the first time. So my first book took forever before it started getting traction. Now it has a lot of traction, but it took forever because I did everything wrong. Then I had to correct it. I had to go backpedal and start over.
Did you have to like redo stuff after it was published? Like update a cover?
I redid the cover at one point. I've tweaked the blurb multiple times. I've tried to work better on again how to pitch it, because I wish I had that lovely, wonderful elevator pitch that people are so snappy. They're like this, and this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a wordy person. I can give you 5 paragraphs, a 5-paragraph pitch. But yeah, it took me a little while to kind of figure out some of those things. But thankfully, I did have a great editor at the time, and the formatting and all that part was good. But the launch, I didn't really do anything for the launch. I didn't market it for 2 years, or maybe 3. Everything wrong.
I had, like, even for my first book, I wasn't even on the social media until after it published. It's like a lot of people you'll see they're hyping it up before it launches, and I didn't even think that book talk. What's book talk? Like I just sort of published in an end of August, and I jumped into like TikTok into that September of 2022, and then now here I am, still learning, still trying to.
Got it. I don't know if it's my.
They'll make a good hook, and like, oh, what is that? What is that?
Sorry, it just glitched a little bit, so I just wanted to make sure you're back.
Did I? Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry.
At least it was on my end, and again, I don't know if it's my service or your service or something in between, but that's why I was like, you back?
I'm back. If you lose me, like, I'll just pop back on if worse come to worse.
You're good. But yeah, what do you think is your biggest strength as a writer or your biggest weakness? Because I know my biggest weakness is figuring out advertising and marketing.
Oh God. Advertising for sure. That like for me, the weakness is just trying to find those hooks. Like when you know, I know logically that it's emotion. That's what you need. What's the emotion of the story? It doesn't matter if it's fantasy and not of this world. There's always that emotion that someone can relate to, does not matter. So it's just kind of digging deep and figuring that out. And like a strong point, I think writing like relatable characters has become something that's become strong for me.
That's good.
I don't know if it's just because I love it so much. I think just reading readers' reviews sometimes or whatever, but
that's great.
I love writing romance. Who knew? Like I started out not realizing really exactly what I wanted to. Mm-hmm. The story sort of told itself, and it's just everything's evolved. But I love writing romance somehow in the story. That I love it. It's fun.
So you were saying a little earlier that you're a pantser as you write, so you kind of go with the flow of things. When you come up with a core concept, because you have this new story developing right now, and you have this other series that you're jumping back now to its prequel, but when it comes to the romance element, do you already know who's going to end up with who, or you just have, I like these characters, and let's just see where they go?
There's that for the moments, like the specific moments and the.
Sorry, it's glitchy.
That sort of pops out of nowhere sometimes, but I have the characters and I kind of know. Did I glitch? Am I back? Okay. I kind of know, like with this story, that was the first one I kind of plotted loosely. Because the ideas were flowing so fast, and I grabbed that Save the Cat Writes a Novel resource. And then I like wrote out everything, the beats or whatever, and then I just kind of outlined everything, and then just to make sure I had the basic story. So for the romance, I've just got the two characters, and I kind of know their backstories now, and I know all their problems, their many problems, and kind of what they desire separately. And then it's just situations that's kind of throwing them together, these two people. Mm-hmm. But then there's reasons why they can't be together. So then you kind of work with that. Yeah.
I like that. And actually, the funny thing you mentioned, like, what was it, Who Saved the Cat, or that, I can't remember the exact wording of the title. That is on my TBR for an author list, because I have my fun TBR, and then I have like the educational TBR, and it is on my list because I hear a lot of people really do like that particular book for craft writing.
I really like it because I'm such a pantser, but it helps me. It's even good if it's not a draft. Say you have a draft written, I find it would be good to then take that draft and go through it and kind of compare it to the beats in that book to see, am I hitting sort of what needs to be. It's all about writing the certain arcs, or I'm probably wording this all wrong, but where the reader's going to keep turning the pages, like to not have legs to help with your pacing. So it's good if you already have a draft and you want to kind of go through your draft and compare it, or you're just starting fresh. Like starting fresh, I literally like typed out all the beats and then started filling in parts of the story that would happen in those beats.
I like that. Well, I feel like then if you're doing all that, you're more than just a pantser. You're kind of probably moving toward the in-between people.
Maybe I'm like moving in between. Plus, I don't know if this counts, but sometimes it's up here, but it's not out anywhere. But it's like the story's up here, you know? Oh, so it's like that's my plotting is up here.
I will do that, especially if I have projects that are sitting in the back burner for a while. I'll like keep going back to certain scenes or images or plot points or characters, and I'll kind of like, you know, just kind of consider them, think about them for a while, and while they're forming and developing, and hopefully when the time comes to write, it's easier to write.
Exactly. Or like think of a scene that you want to write before you start writing, and kind of sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this too, where you're writing the scene and you think that this is how I've kind of decided it's going to go, but you're writing and it feels really wrong. It's like, this doesn't feel right, doesn't sit right. And then something else happens, like, no, this is better. So that's the pantser part.
Well, I like that. And I think this again, personal point of view, there are very few authors I know that plan down to the like little smallest detail before they actually flesh out the book. They do exist. I have a couple close author friends that do that, and they need it because their stories are infinitely complex and they're fantastic, but that's a lot of energy, effort, and I, so far, have a lot of layers to my book, but they're not that convoluted. So I don't need that yet. Though I have noticed that my stories are, again, each longer series I write gets more complicated, gets more layered, which is great. So I think I will have to, in the future, restructure my writing style again to keep up with the ideas as they continue to evolve too.
And then the more complicated it gets to, then that's when the plot holes come out and you're like, wait a minute. That can't happen, or yeah.
Yeah, it is funny how those happen. Even in my debut series, there was one point I was doing this epic battle scene and all this, and all of a sudden I realized I literally cornered my characters against a wall. And I was like, I may have to rethink of this whole battle strategy.
Yeah, unless the wall's magic and it can somehow disappear. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some problems we need to fix. How do we do this? Or who are we sacrificing? I don't know. Anywho, but yeah, no, it is fun. The fun challenges of being a writer.
Oh, there's many. Yeah.
Oh yes,
for sure.
Oh yes. So right now this past year, and especially moving into next year, I'm personally trying to do a lot more in-person events. Having a lot of fun with that, and it's a great way for me to not only network with other authors, but meet potential future readers, and again, just have fun talking about books. Have you done any in-person events? I can't remember if I asked you that the first time we ever talked, or since then. Do you do like local book signings or anything like that?
I've done local book signings. Like for us, I'm in Canada, Atlantic, Canada, and it's our local chapter's Indigo. Yeah. So I've done those signings. And then just last week I went to, we have like a port city we're, kind of coastal region. So it's a port city and they had 3 cruise ships in, and there's like they call it a container village. It's really neat, actually, very unique. So there's all these shops and things, but they're all like those shipping containers, and they're all really like dynamic. It's like really cute little streets sort of through them, but there's a bookstore, an independent bookstore there. So I went and did a signing there. So it was neat because with the 3 cruise ships from all over, there's so many people, and I get to meet a lot of people. So those in-person local I have done, but I am an attending author next, like May 2nd and 3rd, I think, at the Million Lives Book Festival in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm going to that in May of next year, that's a really big one for me. So I'm excited about that.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. So I'm like, I have to do this. It's a good opportunity. I'm going to go. That's
fantastic. Yeah. And meet all the people and hopefully sell books. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that is really cool. And that's a little trek. That's a little bit of a trek. Yeah, I've been keeping kind of a tight radius for all but one convention, just because, again, travel, money,
Exactly.
It gets expensive. There's time. It does. I understand. Though it is a lot of fun once you're there and you're settled and you get to do all the face-to-face and see people, and you never know. You may meet people that you've seen on some of these socials. You'll be like, I know you.
I will, because we've already kind of reached out. So I know there's people that I will meet for the first time. So that's going to be really, really cool.
That is so much fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be good. But I hear you. Like, I would love to do all kinds of the different, There's one in Vegas every year. It's for indie authors. Author Nation is what they're calling. Yeah. Are you going to that? That is one I really want to go to.
Yeah, this will be my second year going to that one. I know this year it rebranded to Author Nation, but yes, that one. And I do advise for anybody, if you can afford the travel and the expense to get there and do it, that one's great for the purpose of networking, educating yourself. Again, for anything from the craft to marketing to the advertising, from very beginners to super advanced 7-figure authors that show up there. I mean, they have it all, and it's very impressive and overwhelming a little bit, but very impressive.
So that's my goal. So one day I will go. I just don't know when, and I will let you know when I go to. So hopefully, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I have enjoyed it, and I, as long as I don't hit burnout, I would love to continue to go to it because it is such a wildly amazing resource. And on the final day of that event, they open up the convention, and it's essentially a book fair, book sale. And so you have to sign up in advance because, again, they do have limited spots, but then you can sell your books there. And I think you should check. This may actually benefit you because they do want people, because there are so many people who come internationally. I think they made a some kind of partnership with a print on demand group. So you upload your files and they'll print and ship the books there. So the books of yours are waiting for you when you get there. So you're not having to lug it across. And I was just like, well, that's interesting. I will verify that this year. But that's one of the things I heard for the authors who are attending that book sales. I did not choose to do so this year because it's just a little, again, the overwhelming of trying to plan all the things.
Oh yeah, and especially like you said, like if you're bringing books, like for the one I'm going to next year, it's I'm partnering, like they have an indie bookstore that'll be there. So for those that like, because I'm Canadian, so I'll be in the States, so it gets a little tricky when you're Canadian selling in the States with taxes and that. But they're going to sell the books for me, so they'll have them stocked, and we'll do it that way. So I'll start like see how that goes and take it from there.
That's great. Yeah, let me know how that goes because that is really interesting. And talking to more and more international authors, depending on where you're from and where I'm from, it is always interesting that trying to overcome those barriers, be it shipping books or travel and books and then selling and all that kind of stuff. It gets wild because you would think everybody would make it easy. It's not.
It's not. No, there's a lot to consider for sure. Yeah.
There is. There absolutely is. Oh, since the hour's running by, I do want to make sure I ask some of my questions that I ask every time because, as I did this last time, if this platform's nice, I'll repurpose this video on my YouTube channel and I'll put all your contact information below. But for people listening now, and as well as anybody who potentially will watch this at a later date, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? Do you have a website, newsletter? What are your other socials?
Yes, so of course, Book Talk, I'm on Instagram as well. I try to be active there as well. So on Instagram, I have a Facebook author page, a webbook website. Everything's in the link in my profile, like on here. I don't know what we're allowed to say, but there's a link tree. It's www.dawn-publishing.com. That's just my little personal publishing company. And yeah, books they're found on Amazon. They're at this point in Kindle Unlimited. And as I said, I'm working on audiobooks and Audible and physical copies, and they can be in bookstores. So, I have the book distributor, Ingram Spark. So any bookstore, if you went and requested them, I'm sure they can get them in stock. And I think I've covered it, but that's
paperback and a hardcover. Do you do just paperback or both?
I've just done paperback, yeah. But now I will say, this is something I'm so new to it, but Kickstarter, that's something that's in the back of my mind. I'd love to give it a go for like a special edition. I just had character art created from a scene from Seeking Haven, and I'm just in love. So now I'm addicted to character art all of a sudden. But it would be nice to do a special edition set somehow with the character art or, the sprayed edges and all the fancy things because the series is complete. Maybe once the prequel's done. So who knows, but.
Hey, I've done a couple Kickstarters, but they were more for like regular launches. But I do want to run a couple going forward for special editions. I just have to now learn all the who's going to do the foiling, who would be good at the character art, and put it all together. So there's going to be a little bit of research and time and energy. So it's not going to be launched anytime soon.
Same. Exactly.
Learning stuff. But if you find anything out, let me know, and I'll let you know if I figure anything out on my end. I have talked to a couple authors recently on these live streams that have done some beautiful special editions on Kickstarter in various ways, and I'm just like, one, jealous, two, teach me your ways.
I want to know all the things. How do you do this? It's amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. I want to know all the things. And no, that is very fantastic. And I may have to be reaching out to you because in my very slow, because I don't know why this is just so slow for me, progression of taking my books wide, my goal, I keep telling myself my goal by the end of the year will be my ebooks wide and my audiobooks mostly wide. I have a couple that I'm keeping exclusive, but I have to then figure out how to do print. So Ingram Sparks is a giant question mark to me right now. So I may be like, help.
Anytime. Honestly, I'm not at all any kind of gatekeeper person. Like, I'm happy to, if I can help or answer a question or make life easier for another author, because I understand it and I've appreciated when people have done it for me, then I'm happy to help. So just send a message and I can share whatever I know, which isn't a lot, but it's enough.
Yeah,
it's enough to get by.
Because that's the thing I would love to have, is have that ability where I can say, hey, it may not physically be in a bookstore yet right now, but it's available. So if you request it, especially on the bigger bookstores, they will buy it and bring it and hold it for you and send it to you. And yeah, that's always cool.
Exactly. And even some of us, like smaller bookstores or independent bookstores, they don't have to necessarily have it in stock, but they can feature it on their website, because if you see it and you want it, they can get it and ship it to the person or get it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good point. I know she's glitching at the moment, but yeah, you can, when you start moving your books wide, they're available on the catalogs online, and people can request books that way, and you can go through and peruse. I would love to have my book on some of the bigger catalogs. That's what I'm moving for in the future. That's the goal. We'll see if she can jump back on. I know we were glitching a little bit earlier in our chat, because maybe me. I don't know if it's me. Yep, it's probably me. I'll keep an eye out for her if she jumps back on. But service is weird. It's never fun when it doesn't work for people. Cries. Anywho, but yeah. So since she's off and away for a moment, does anybody else have any questions about books, publishing, everything in between? I'm going to send another invite to see if I can get her back on. Let's see. That poor service, I think. It may be my...
I don't know if I got booted off.
You're Something good. Happened. Yeah, it may be on my end. I saw my service like dip down, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on tonight, but we will we have you back for the moment. Sorry for kicking you off. If it was my side.
It's all good.
But yeah, no, and that's always a good education for readers, that again, if you check out the online catalogs if you don't see a book physically there, because there are a lot of books just chilling in the catalogs, which means they have access to order them. They're just not on the limited shelves, because they have limited shelves, and they have to be very strategic on what they put on them.
That's right.
But, and also, I don't know if you've tested out on any bookstores near you, but if a lot of times, I know here in the States, you have the Barnes and Nobles, you can try to, once you have it on the catalog, try to see if you can do a signing through them at those stores, which is kind of cool. But again, I don't have that access yet. I'm trying to move my books wide so I can, but that's another option.
Yeah, it's like when I did the one at our Chapters Indigo, they actually would stock the books, so they'd have them already in stock, and then I'd go sign them. But I've also done the other way, where they call it on consignment, so you bring your own author copies, and then you sign kind of contract, and they keep a portion of the sales, and you keep a portion. So there's different ways to do it.
See, hi, and see, you're the expert in so many things that I don't know yet. I need to learn all the things. It's like my ridiculous checklist every year. It just continues to roll on, because I have, quarter of the way through, I'm like, oh, wait, I want to insert this new goal of the year. And then I never achieve half the stuff that I'm trying to achieve.
That's okay. Be kind to yourself. My God, we're so hard on ourselves. Like with that stuff, I do the same thing. Like, I'm going to do this. And then some days I'm just tired.
Oh, yeah.
It's not happening. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And hi, D.E. Carlson. Just want to say hello.
Yes, it's getting to the point where I'm physically tired from the weekend, and I even sound kind of husky, so apologies if my voice is a little deeper than normal. After this, I'm going to log off and probably wind down and crash pretty quickly. But with that said, what is your next goal? It doesn't even have to be a big goal when it comes to writing, because I know you're you have your prequel, but you also are working your story. Which one are you going to try to focus on, or is there something in between saying, hey, I want to?
Nothing in between, but this is the first time I've had two projects on the go at the same time. I've never done this before. So in my head, it's more of, can I do this? Can I and to publish 2 books in 1 year, I've never done that. It's like, not that I've got a lot of it, 3 books, but it's kind of been like 1 a year. So my goal is 2 for 2025. I do feel like I can make that happen with the way things are going now with the writing. But I will say that my plan was to really focus on the prequel to get it edited. Mm-hmm. Now, and that's just not happening because this other book is just taking it so much. It's consuming me because it's the one that's most pressing, and it's the one I'm feeling more not passionate. It's not the right, because I love both stories, but this one's just more persistent or something because the other draft is done, and I just feel like I just need to get this draft out. So I'm trying to do that. But those are my big small goal is to have both books out in 2025.
Hey, I'll cross my fingers and say you got this. You got this.
I really. I'm one of these people that visualizes it like, yes, you do. Even when the self-doubt creeps in, like, no, don't let that happen. Just do it. You've got this. You're going to do. It's going to happen. You're going to find the time, and you're going to make it happen. Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen is whichever one you release first, your readers are going to be like, so when's the next book coming out? And you'll be like, oh, but I actually kind of know.
That would be amazing. And also just having readers ask these questions, that's just life, for them to even ask, like, when's the next one? Like, yes, thank you so much for asking that. Makes me so happy.
It should make you happy. I mean, you want that readership. You want those super fans that always want more. You want those fans that the book releases and 5 hours later you're getting emails in your inbox saying, that was fantastic. When's the next one? And you're like, do you know how long it took me to write that book?
I know, if only.
I wish I could write as fast as I would like, but it's not. It doesn't happen that way.
Yes, or you do, like, I don't know if you've ever had this too, where you're writing the draft, and in here, like, I see things. I know not everybody will see the scene happen, but I do. And it's just like almost perfect. In my head, it's just such a perfect scene. I love it. It's great. And then the words all come out in the draft, like, that's not exactly that was prepared, I know the draft is where you tell yourself the story and then it all gets fixed and everything, but if only you could literally take what's here and just into the...
It would be nice. That's one of those magical abilities that I feel, who knows, someone has a magical ability to be like, I take it and I put it on paper. Ta-da!
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. I take what I'm thinking and I'm able to, not enact it, but, make it
exactly.
Thank you.
Imagery.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The word has escaped me. Thank you.
Between the two of us, we've got this. I feel you. I know. It's a long day.
It's been a long couple weeks, but actually, since again the hour is moving quickly now, I do want to ask. I like to always ask around this time if anybody who's listening, as well as you, is there any questions that you guys had that you haven't had to ask yet? So ask them now, or is there any topic you wanted to cover that you haven't covered, and any announcements that you have? So
I can't think of anything. My biggest announcement coming up is the audiobooks, which I'm really excited. I can say Victoria Connolly is narrating it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's more active, I find, on Instagram, but she has narrated for Frida McFadden, so that makes me like, oh my God, I can't believe she's going to narrate my books. So she's narrating them, and I'm really excited for it. And I'll share, like, whatever I can share along the way, I'll share.
That's so neat and exciting. Yeah. And yeah. I don't recognize her, but I'm also, one, bad with names, horribly bad with names, and two, audiobooks are something, again, a world of audiobooks is something that I'm still trying to familiarize myself with. Obviously, I have a few out of my own, but beyond that, I have I guess I don't know if it's a bad habit, but for whatever reason, I read print. I never look at ebooks, and I never think about audiobooks, so I do believe if I got into audiobooks, I would love it. I never think about it.
I totally understand that. And I was always print, and then I got a Kindle for Christmas 2 years ago, and now that's my favorite way to read. on my Kindle. I love that little backlight and the, if it's late at night, it's like I'm not disturbing like my husband. I just like, I can read at like 2 in the morning if I can't sleep, and I love it. I love it.
Hey, and that's why everybody has a preference. So diversifying your books is a great thing. And I know Dia Carlson said popped in and didn't know what was covered. That's okay. That's okay. We've been just talking books as always on these things and just hanging out. But yeah, I love when fellow authors pop in to say hi, because this community on this platform is fantastic that way. And I absolutely love meeting and making friends with so many fantastic writers. And then if they ever are so nice to like teach me amazing knowledge, give me that knowledge, that pass it on to me, because I'm constantly trying to learn and improve.
Me
I feel
too.
like most of us are.
I feel that too. And like whatever like one person is good at and another one is not as good at, and you can learn from each other, and that's what I've done. And
that's what we need. We want a community that can bolster each other and like boost each other up and be like, we will help each other. It's not all
cheer each other on.
Yes, exactly. And but yeah, so for your going back for your news idea, your fantasy suspense.
It's a romantic suspense, of course, this is another thing, like it's kind of out of my knowledge, I guess, but I have this upper young adult to new adult paranormal, series, but then I'll have a prequel, and then now I'm branching into this adult romantic suspense that may or may not have paranormal elements. I haven't fully decided. So it will be a bit of a genre sort of change. However, I really do think that it'll be fine, because I know they say change your pen name, but I'm like, no, I've worked too hard to like just,
yes, that was,
hey, I'm Angela and I'm here. I can't start over with a new genre. No, it's just going to be me. And it's, the writing styles are not going to be, I can't help my writing style. It's going to carry through no matter what I write. So the romance is going to be the same slow burn. It's just going to be different. So I'm just going with it. I'm just going to trust these instincts that I'm hoping are right, and just write the story that's sort of there.
Is your instincts telling you that this is going to be a standalone or a potential series? I know this is, again, that early world building. You're feeling out your characters and feeling out the story part, but just curious.
It's going to be, right now I feel it's a standalone. However, those stories, like, I'm just going to use this as an example, a Lincoln Lawyer novel. That was hard to say, the Lincoln, but it might be something like the main character's name, like a such and such novel. So where each book can be on its own, but it kind of carries along. It might be something, that's kind of what I see happening if it goes well. Yeah, something like that.
I like that. It's like, well, I feel like, especially when it comes to things that do have like a romance feature, just depending on how you write your romance, there are some that do series with the same characters all the way through. And then there are others who, they're a series, but each book has a different couple featured. And, it just depends on how you like to write and tell your story and reveal your world and all the fun things.
Also very possible.
That's good. Yeah, right now I have 2 different series that are in that kind of world building, I'm feeling it out stage, and at some point I'll have to dedicate a little more time and effort to be like, okay, I have to pick one of those 2 and really kind of start fleshing things out so we can kind of get into it. But it is kind of fun that you get those moments throughout the day. You're like, ooh, idea for this. Need to note it down right now.
Yeah, that's what the little notes app on the phone, I always will have that handy, Yes.
I
can't forget that.
I have to remember, and until the ideas come to me and I'm on the notes app or I'm talking about it on one of these things, I feel like I should transcribe those notes to have duplicates, because if anything happens to that phone, I don't want to lose all that stuff.
Or email it to yourself. Just copy and paste them in an email and email it to yourself.
Oh my God, that's like so easy.
Because then you always have your email on any device.
Sometimes the easy things don't come to me initially. Who knew? Let me actually write this down on my physical notes about my virtual notes. email myself those notes.
Yes. Then you'll always have it.
Thank you. Because I was, yes, yes. Work smarter, not hard. Work smarter, not harder. Oh my goodness. Anywho, I think my brain is telling me that I'm exhausted. Thank you so much for coming out and chit-chatting. And since we haven't really talked in a little while, it's been nice catching up and hearing about your upcoming works and your book award, which you got this year, and your completed series. And that's so nice to see how much you're growing as another author.
It's really exciting, and I appreciate you for having me on. And anytime you said you want to do a live, anytime, just reach out.
Yay! Yeah, because I do these weekly, and I do plan them in advance as much as I can because I'm a planner. But thank you, and I love talking with you, and it's so much fun. And one day we will see each other. If it's not at Author Nation in Vegas, it'll be at another event. But we will do this.
I think we will too. I know it will happen.
I love it. But I will say adieu. I know you're a little even later than I am, so time to say good night to everyone who's joined in. Thank you for listening. And again, thank you, Angela, for jumping on for this past hour, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you for having me, and good night, everybody.
Bye, one.
Bye.